All right, let's talk about something we all do, pretty much every day, shopping. Why do we buy the things we do? It might feel like it's just based on a whim, but what if I told you there's a hidden logic, a kind of science, behind every single choice you make? Well, today, we're going to crack that code.
You know that feeling, right? You're in an aisle, just staring at a wall of products. You've got a certain amount of money to spend, and you're just stuck. How in the world do you pick the right thing? Do you go for the cheapest option, the best quality, or is it just a gut feeling?
Well, economists actually believe that underneath all that confusion, our brains are running a pretty logical calculation. There's almost a secret formula we use to get the most happiness out of our money. And to see how it works, we're going to follow a guy named Jose on his shopping trip.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Every time we shop, we're basically trying to solve a problem. And for Jose, that problem is simple: how to get the biggest possible happiness boost from his hard-earned cash.
So here's the deal. Jose has exactly $56 to spend, and he loves two things: cool t-shirts, which cost $14 a pop, and going to the movies, which are $7 each. The mission is clear: spend that $56 in the way that makes him happiest.
And this brings us to our first big economic idea, the budget constraint. It sounds a little technical, I know, but think of it like a map. It just shows all the possible combinations of t-shirts and movies that Jose can actually afford with his $56. If it's on the map, it's possible. If it's not, well, it's out of reach for now.
So if we look at his map, Jose could go to the extremes. He could spend all $56 on t-shirts and walk away with 4 of them, but, 0 movies. Or he could go the other way, see 8 movies and get no new t-shirts. Everything else is just a different mix of the two, somewhere in the middle.
Okay, so Jose knows what he can buy, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. Now for the really tricky part. How do we measure his goal? How do you actually put a number on, well, happiness?
Economists have a word for this: utility. It's just a fancy term for satisfaction or happiness. And to measure it, they invented this kind of made-up unit called a util. You can just think of them as happiness points. The more utils something gives you, the happier it makes you. And it's totally personal. What gives me 10 utils might give you 20. Now, here's a really important rule about how we humans work. And it's something you've definitely felt before. It's called the law of diminishing marginal utility. It basically says that the first slice of pizza is pure magic. The 8th slice? Not so much. Each extra one you get gives you a little less of a happiness boost than the one before. And we can see this perfectly with Jose's t-shirts. That very first one he buys, it's his absolute new favorite. He gets a massive 22 happiness points from it. But by the time he gets to the 4th t-shirt, it's fine. It's a backup for laundry day. It only adds 18 points. See? The thrill is already starting to fade.
So Jose's brain, without him even realizing it, is running the numbers on every possible combo. Buying 4 t-shirts gives him 81 total utils. 2 t-shirts and 4 movies gets him up to 101. But look at that, there's one clear winner. The combo that gives him the absolute most happiness for his $56 is point S, 1 t-shirt and 6 movies, for a grand total of 103 happiness points. That's the sweet spot.
But come on, our brains don't actually pull up a spreadsheet in the middle of a store. So how do we find that sweet spot? Well, there's an intuitive rule we're all following, whether we know it or not. Let's unlock it.
The way we really think is more step by step. Imagine Jose starts out thinking he'll just buy 4 t-shirts. But then he pauses and thinks, wait a minute, what if I give up that last t-shirt, the laundry day one, and use that $14 to see 2 movies instead? He'd lose 18 happiness points from the shirt, but he gained 31 points from the 2 movies. Hey, that's a net gain of 13 points. So he makes the trade, and he keeps making those little trades in his head until there are no good trades left to make.
And what all this mental trading is really doing is getting to the core idea. Our brains are constantly, instinctively trying to equalize the bang for your buck. We're always shifting our spending towards whatever is giving us the most happiness per dollar in that moment.
So, here it is. This is the secret formula. You have reached maximum happiness when the extra little bit of joy you get from the last dollar you spend on t-shirts is exactly equal to the extra bit of joy you get from the last dollar you spend on movies.
And you know what? The math checks out perfectly. At that optimal choice, 1 t-shirt and 6 movies, the extra happiness from that first t-shirt is 22 utils. Divide that by its $14 price, and you get 1.6 happiness points per dollar. Now look at the sixth movie. Its extra happiness is 11 utils. Divide that by its $7 price, and you also get 1.6 points per dollar. The bang for his buck is perfectly balanced. That's what economists call consumer equilibrium.
Now, this whole framework isn't just some fun thought experiment. It actually helps us understand how we react to real changes in our lives, with our real money.
I mean, think about it. What happens when your budget suddenly changes? Let's say you get a pay raise. Your whole map of possibilities gets bigger, right? You have more money to spend. So you start a whole new calculation to find a new, higher happiness equilibrium.
Or what about when prices change? Two things happen. First, what's called the substitution effect kicks in. If t-shirts suddenly get way more expensive, movies start looking like a much better deal, so you substitute away from the expensive thing. But there's also the income effect. A higher t-shirt price just means your $56 doesn't stretch as far anymore. Your overall buying power has gone down, so you might just have to cut back on everything a little.
Now, this whole model is built on the idea that we're these perfect, rational little calculators. But let's be honest with ourselves. Are we? A field called behavioral economics has some really fascinating things to say about this.
So traditional economics sees us as these cold, hard calculators. But behavioral economics says, whoa, not so fast. Our state of mind matters a lot. For instance, we feel the pain of losing $10 way more intensely than the joy of finding $10. We don't treat all money the same either. Money you won feels different from money you worked hard for. And we definitely don't have perfect self-control, which is why sometimes we need a little nudge to make the right choice.
So the next time you're standing in a store, feeling that paralysis of choice, just think about it for a second. Is your brain running a quiet utility calculation trying to equalize your bang for the buck like a perfect machine? Or are you being swayed by your emotions, your biases, and the beautifully messy reality of just being human? The answer is probably a little bit of both. Something to chew on during your next shopping trip.